Hi, welcome back to Pontypool Golf Club, Indoor Golf Academy. Unfortunately, it's snowing outside. I was hoping to be outside today to demonstrate this particular lesson that we're going to do today. I've had a request of one of our members who has trouble, like all of us, or some of us in the past, having trouble getting over obstacles on the golf course at short distances, i.e. a bunker in front of you, or a water hazard, or a bank, or not much green to work with. And this requires you to have confidence to get over and produce a good strike. So we're going to cover that today, which is a sort of form of a pitch shot in some respects. And I'm going to cover one or two drills to help you achieve that. So we're in the warmth today of the Indoor Academy. And as you can see, I've kind of been a bit imaginative today, and I've put three big training bags on top of each other to sort of produce a bank, or imagine it being a bunker, I guess, to get over, or a water hazard. I guess you could do this at home if you're out in the backyard and try and make some obstacles that you can practice in trying to get over. Now, we need to make sure we've got the right tools for the job on this occasion, and a lofted club is key to this. So having one of your more lofted wedges in the bag is really important. If you've got a lob wedge or a sand iron, 56, 58, 60 degrees of loft, that would be ideal for this shot. We don't want to really go much lower than that if we can help it. So sand iron or a lob wedge, 56, 58, 60 degrees would be suffice. You can also be quite clever in generating more loft if need be, by adding or manipulating the loft of the club face by coming closer here, by creating a more open face. So if I go from a square face and open that face up, we're producing more loft on the club. That requires a little bit more of a skill set and a bit more confidence, but that's something you can gradually work your way up to at some stage or another, and we'll cover that in the lesson. Now, what I'm going to show you here today is two things. One is the setup, because it's a pitch shot to a certain extent. We could call it a pitch shot or a lob shot. And the other second thing is the technique to produce a good strike, because a lot of golfers here, it's more of a psychological problem. There's something in front of them. They're more concerned about this particular hazard, i.e. a bunker or a water hazard or a bank, than they are actually about where the ball's going to finish next to the flag or on the green. So first things first, try and have some visualization skills or imagery or imagination about where your ball wants to finish in an ideal world. Pick a spot on the green, how far you want to be away from the flag, or a particular area where it's safe to land the ball, and use that as visualizing the shot you're going to play. Watch the ball beforehand, see it in the air, how it lands, how it stops softly, looking at the ball trajectory and ball flight. I tend to find rugby players who are taking conversions or penalty kicks are very good at visualization and being able to see it before they kick the ball. And it's no different here. We're trying to picture the shot from behind the obstacle, how it's going to look, pick a part of the green. And I always use the analogy here, aim small, miss small. I don't know if any of you have watched the film The Patriot with Mel Gibson, teaching his son to shoot a rifle, and he was saying, instead of aiming for the man, if you miss the man, you'll miss him. But if you aim for a button on his shirt and you miss the button, you're still likely to hit him. It's the same here, really, same analogy. I want you to pick a part of the green that you want the ball to kind of finish on, and use that as your sort of aim point, and have that in your mind all the time you're playing the shot. It will help distract away from what's in front of you. Okay, so what we're going to do first of all, I tend to find when people get negative about this shot, they try to want to lift the ball up over the obstacle, and the natural thing for them to do is to kind of lean backwards, either to feel like they're lifting the ball, or for them it feels like you might be creating more loft, but it's a big no-no. As soon as you start leaning backwards, you see my right shoulder beginning to drop, my weight's going onto my right foot. This is when you're liable to either showing the leading edge of the club face here and striking that with the golf ball, or hitting the ground because your weight's so far back before the ball. This then creates either a fat heavy shot or a thin strike, or he gets the club to bounce and hit off the leading edge. A whole multitude of poor shots. So getting our weight right and our setup right is quite important at this stage. And you might have covered my short game session with the chip-in earlier on, and how important it is to have your weight favouring on this left side. And this requires the same with bunker shots as well. or chip in or pitch in, there's always that distribution of weight onto your left side, particularly when you strike the golf ball. We don't want excessive amounts of weight here because you'll end up coming down and digging into it. But you want to be feeling at least 60% of your weight staying on this left side of your body if you're right-handed, and that will encourage you to strike the bottom of the ball in the right place at the right time. And I think that's very important, that weight situation, because I see with this fault often it's generally down to the fact that they lean back and hit the ground first or thin the golf ball. There's also the other bit as well, where golfers get very nervous about this obstacle in front and they feel they have to make sure they hit over. So they tend to do the other opposite, which is they take the club so far back in their backswing to make a fuller swing, and then they feel it's too far back, end up slowing down or making a shorter follow through and de-accelerating, slowing up as they hit the golf ball. This also produces poor striking, no follow through, and again you're likely to fall into the trap that's laid in front of you. So your weight on this is so important, 60%. Feel like you're slightly leaning on that left side. A great little drill for you to try and encourage this, and we'll experiment with this now, is I call it the flamingo exercise. So what we're going to try and do here is almost stand on one leg. We're just going to let our right foot here, I'm going to just sort of rest on my big toe, and then the rest of my weight is on my left side. You can see straight away how my sort of body favors this left side by doing this drill. So just my big right toe on the ground, nothing else. If I stand to the side, you'll see that. There we go. The ball position will be generally middle of the stance as well on this occasion. There we go. You see on my big right toe. Now straight away I feel like I have to support myself with my weight on my left side. Now what I'm going to do here now is just have a few practice strokes, get a feel for where my club is kind of bottoming out on the mat. I can hear that sort of little bounce where I want to be on the mat there, and that's what gives me some confidence on the strike. So ball in the middle of my stance, going to do this flamingo drill, and at this stage I'm just going to be focusing on keeping my weight in the right place. There we go. So I felt there the ball kind of running up the club face. I didn't do anything with the club face there, I just used the natural loft. Got the club to bottom out in the middle of my stance, so I felt like I had a good contact. But more importantly, because of this flamingo drill, I was able to stay in that position at the point of impact. Now if I don't keep that flamingo exercise and I revert back to my weight being here, you're in big trouble. You're likely to miss-hit the golf shot. I'll do that once again for you. I'm a great believer in drills and exercises. I think it's a far quicker way of you learning, and I think it's something you can get instant feedback and challenge yourself as well. So again, ball in the middle of my stance, on my big right toe. I'm almost sort of standing all here on my one leg. And again, in my practice swing here, I'm just going to feel the club bottoming out in the right place where I'm focusing on. So again, just my big toe, weight to my left. I'm going to get the feeling of that club bottoming out in the right place. There we go. I've got over my obstacle. Now you might ask me the question, what if I want to hit it higher or hit it further? And that's down to, if you're wanting to hit it further, obviously length of golf swing. And we want to make sure we get a feel for that. Again, practice strokes before you hit the golf ball. But what I would say to golfers is they make the biggest mistake of going all the way back, sometimes too far in their backswing, and then de-accelerating. So they tend to sort of get into a situation when they're pitching and go all the way back thinking, oh, hit it further, and then slow up. Big no-no there. So try and get a feel of the length of your swing. Yeah, same back, same through. Yeah, you could use the clock face analogy as another good drill. So that was 3 o'clock and this was 9 o'clock. Just practice going to those times. Try not to go any further, or vary the time so that you go and say, I don't know, 2 o'clock, 10 o'clock, and that will help you get a feel for your length of swing. If you've got no length of swing, or you can't feel where you're going, that's something you might have a fault with as well, so something to work on. So that's a nice little drill, the flamingo one. Find that really, really good. If you're at the golf course you're playing, and you feel a bit silly maybe doing the flamingo drill, this is something you might want to just use on the practice area. You can imagine a couple of scenarios. One thing I used to suggest is I was stood on a crisp packet here of my left foot, and I'm keeping the crisp packet from blowing away, and I'm staying on that crisp packet when I hit that shot. That's a good way of also focusing on something. There's also another alternative, if you're finding even those quite difficult, is to make a little pivot. So when you play your pitch shot, you see my right foot coming off, that pushes my weight forward. Don't be frightened to kind of do that initially as well, just to make it easier for you to move your weight forward. Okay, just one more if you want to hit it higher. I mentioned earlier on about manipulating the face. So what I'm going to do here is just turn the face a little open, create some loft. You can see that I'm doing that with just my two fingers there, and let it rest before I take my hold. What I don't want to do there is take my normal grip and then open the face. The likelihood is, as you come back to hit the golf ball, your hands will want to go back to where they were, and that will square the face off, and you won't gain any more loft on the golf shot. So I tend to open the face first. I've got a little bit of an open stance here as well to encourage myself just to come across the ball a little bit. But now I've taken my grip with that face open. That's going to create more height. Again, I want to feel that weight. It's so important on my left side. And then commit to the shot. And this time, my trajectory is a lot higher. But this requires practice. This is not a gift. This is something you got to go out and actually practice on the practice area. Put an obstacle in the way if there's no bunker there. And practice trying to get over something and get consistent with what you're doing. But you can only do this with practice. A short game, for me, if you're going to the range for an hour, your short game at least requires 50% of your practice time, or if not more. This is how you score better on the golf course. So put yourself in those sort of positions, imagine what you're doing. It'll help massively in terms of improving those shots. Hope that helps today. Any more requests, please don't feel free to send them to us. And if you'd like to subscribe to our page, it's Leon Warren, PGA Professional. I hope that's helped today. Take care and enjoy your golf.